Welcome to the Football Retro Podcast.
The word welcome, I guess, is stretching it a little when you're an Australian in a place like this today.
Hello and welcome to episode 49 of the Football Retro Podcast. I'm your host, Johnny, and today another full screen, the four of us, Fatty, Akin and Darcy. How you going, guys? How you doing, Fatty?
Yeah, good, Johnny, good. It's always been a full screen, actually. That's all I can remember now. Every week, full screen. So
Everyone's
can't really
committed.
complain.
Everyone's committed. I like it.
I don't know if we're committed. You're cracking the whip, I think. No one can escape.
That's a good
Friday,
thing.
I thought you'd be stoked Arsenal over the weekend.
Can I say I'm smiling?
Yeah, he's been in a good mood tonight.
Yeah,
That's a Wayne Bennett smile.
you gave him
Wayne
you
Bennett.
gave him no hope.
Actually, funny you say that. I actually tipped them to win.
Did you?
Did.
Wow. How you doing, man?
Hey, doing really well. Little one's growing really well every week. She's about 9 weeks now. Really exciting time, hey. Doing all right. I'm excited about this topic.
It's good, isn't it? It'll be feeding time for you soon, Akram.
No.
He doesn't do that. Darcy, how you going, man?
Good guys, very good. Like Akram, little one as well. She just got her third tooth now, so yeah, fun times ahead.
Hat trick. Hold on.
Yeah.
Fatty, what happened? Arsenal won. Arteta, best coach in the world.
No, still a long way to go, I think. But yeah, I mean, you're coming off Tottenham, 2 losses in a row. Different thing. 2 losses in a row, 2 wins in a row. Bit of a shift there. So a team that's sort of coming with confidence, a team low on confidence. I think we just faced them at the right time, to be honest.
But the derby is always a different kind of game.
Of course, it was a different kind of game. Fans as well might make a little bit of difference. But I don't know. I just had a gut feeling. I thought they were going to get a result. To be honest, I didn't expect 3-1. I thought maybe 1-0 or 2-1 if we were lucky. But the Aubameyang back on the score sheet, surprisingly, he's been a bit off. Emil Smith-Rowe, which is a big goal for him because there's a lot expected of him wearing a number 10 jersey now. And Saka, one of the touted as a big prospect, 19-year-old, had a lot of pressure during the Euros, and obviously that pressure of the penalty that he ended up missing. It's good to see that it hasn't really affected him. He's still young; he can recover from that. So yeah, he's been doing well. And
How many wins is that now?
Goal. 3 wins.
Hey,
It's funny
3 in a
because
row.
after the first 3 games, Tottenham were first, Arsenal were bottom. 3 games later, Arsenal ahead of Tottenham.
Yeah, well, both on 9 points now with goal difference.
for that Arteta, man, never doubted.
Oh,
Trust the
please.
process. as I
Always
say.
believed in him.
It's-
What about a big weekend in Serie A as well?
Yeah, it's been fantastic, man. I really enjoyed it. Couldn't believe some of the results. Juventus squeaked out a win against Spezia. So they are looking as fragile as I've ever seen Juventus look. I couldn't believe what's happened. Maybe Cristiano Ronaldo kind of had an idea of what was going to happen this year.
That's what it sounds like. And you know what? From a neutral football fan in Serie A, it's refreshing to see Juventus struggle a little bit.
Oh, 100%. It's needed to happen for the health of the league. And honestly, out of the top 5 leagues, though, Serie A most competitive. Only 5 points separate the top 7. One of the leagues with most goals scored this round. It's been really exciting, really fun, and some quality football. Napoli are looking really good. Roma and Lazio was a fantastic match to see. Sarri and Mourinho having a go at each other. They kind of get along though, which is kind of interesting. Mourinho, I didn't think got along with anybody. So I mean, it was nice to see.
The next league that needs to happen in is the Bundesliga.
Yes.
You need to cut the Bayern Munich stronghold of that league to make it more interesting.
Darcy, get on that, please.
Yeah, definitely. Dortmund's always been up there, but then Dortmund just fall apart and Bayern just run.
Did you hear what the sporting director from Bayern said about Dortmund the other day?
No.
I think it was the sporting director. He said something like, Dortmund better behave themselves, otherwise we'll ruin this generation for them too. Take all their players. Like, far out. Far out. That's brazen.
At least they're open about it.
Yeah.
That's true. They're always picking off their players.
Yeah. Okay, so the topic today will be just in the past we've done this, just different kinds of questions and discussions around football in general. So some of them are about technology, some about the future, about the rules of the game, about things that have happened in the past. So, for example, we touched on this before in a previous episode, but let's start with when COVID happened, the 5 subs came in. For some reason, it seems to be just sticking around, and I haven't heard of any talk of it going back to 3 subs.
Mm.
Do you prefer for it to be 5 or 3 subs, and if so, why?
What do you think of Darcy?
Oh, I think keep it at 3. I just feel like with 3 subs, it shows the coaches that are tactically smart, that know who to put on, when to put on. I feel like with 5 subs, it's like, okay, throw the kitchen sink, let's throw whoever, 5 players. It becomes almost like a friendly, because with friendlies, you got up to 6 subs you can use. So, yeah, just keep it at the 3. I think I don't know if the Premier League moved it back to 3. I could be mistaken. And some leagues have kept the 5. I'm not sure. I have to see that. But, yeah, I think just keep it at the 3. The only positive you'd see out of 5 subs is some players in the squad would be a bit happier that they'll get more chance to get minutes. That's the only positive I can see out
I was
of it.
going to say that the pro to this rule is that more players will get more game time, and therefore you're keeping more people happy.
Look, not just that, Johnny, but there is a case to be made about less wear and tear for some players, and players' health could get a benefit to this as well, and that is like a big factor that we have to consider, because if anything that we can do to conserve the players and players' health, it ultimately helps us and makes the consumer the winner, because it will therefore lead to better football and better entertainment for everyone involved. So I get that side of it. It is really important to do that. Ultimately, though, I do disagree, and I do agree with Darcy, because of the tactical nature of the game. It's more interesting. The game is more tight. Yeah, for me overall, I think I would have to go with 3.
I definitely agree with the 3 as well. I don't agree with you at all, Akram, regarding the player welfare. I think they get paid enough money to be able to sustain that. That's the whole point, being at that top level. Now, the 3 subs thing, as a manager, you need to prepare going into, game week, not just on the day. You don't just narrow down your bench for the weekend just on the day. It's got to be planned. It depends on who you're versing. It depends on, how you believe things may change, and if you'd want to have an extra striker on the bench or an extra defender, if you get a red card, all these things got, like you said, the manager's got to be smart enough to facilitate those and to take them into account, not just on the day, but leading up to the match week. So I think that's part of football, and to change that changes the dynamic completely. Like, if you start making concessions, I understand COVID and there was a reason, but constantly making those concessions, it just waters down a manager's, I don't know, I think it waters down a manager's job, to be honest.
And you know what, you said player welfare. Part of the tactical things you mentioned as well was rest players, have the ability to rest players and manage the players' play load without having to make the 5 subs.
Nah, Johnny, but the thing about that is then you come into the issue regarding TV ratings and ticket sales. How would you feel if you had to drop $60 to go see Barcelona, and then you find out they were resting Messi that day? I mean, not Messi, someone else, because he's not there anymore. So yeah, like, you know what I mean? Like you do run into that issue as well. The players, like Fadi said, are paid to play. You do want to see your big stars on the field. The thing is, with the 5 subs, at least you have more freedom to take a couple of big players off. And the thing is, yes, they get paid a lot, but regardless, if we can preserve a player's career and increase the longevity, how is that a bad thing as well? Like, yes, they get paid a lot, but we certainly would like to see players play longer. And there's been many cases of players who have not played as long as what we would have liked to have seen. Their career's been cut short due to injury. Who knows if that would have happened if they didn't have to play every game 90 minutes or so, as such.
That's fair enough. So I think we all agree 3 subs.
It's cutthroat for me.
You guys,
It's cutthroat. I don't care. You got to be able to play. You got to be able to play when you're called upon. If you're not good enough to play, or you're not strong enough, or you're injured, or you can't manage, tough shit.
We'll come to you in a second, Darcy, but Fatty, whether you get paid $1 million or $2 million a week, if your body can't handle 3 games a week for 4 consecutive weeks,
What's your problem? That's too bad for you. Why the rule need to change to let you have more of a break?
I mean, the rule doesn't need to change. Like, yeah, you're right. It's too bad for you. But at the same time, we've lost a lot of great players and great talent that we, as a consumer and as a fan, have missed out on seeing. Some of them have not been able to have as long a career because of that. The load on their knees, on their ankles.
Yeah, that's the reality, though. Well,
Yeah.
I mean, what do you want to do?
I don't know if you guys have noticed. You can notice during games now with 5 subs, if we've got more stoppage time, we've got like 5-6 minutes sometimes, and then you've got VAR that holds up play. Sometimes you get 7 to 8 minutes. So it's just kind of thrown everything out of whack, and not the usual 3 minutes for stoppage time. So,
well, yeah, making 10 subs during the second half, especially,
yeah,
it takes its toll.
Yeah, it's funny, you see, when you look now, a lot of games, generally in the first half, it'd be very little stoppage time in the first half in games. It'd be maximum a minute, sometimes none. Now you're getting 3 minutes stoppage time in the first half. In a lot of games, it's becoming more frequent, as Darcy said. It's crazy. It's crazy.
I feel like the common factor was 10 years ago, 1 minute at half time, 3 minutes at full time. That was the normal average for injury time, and now you're easily seeing 2 and 5. Easily.
Not when you're playing at Old Trafford.
Yeah, it's second half. It's depending how long Fergie wants.
Old Trafford in the 2000s, you're looking at 7-8 minutes plus Fergie time.
Speaking of Darcy, you mentioned that in the Premier League they've gone back to 3 subs. Do you guys feel?
I think so. Yeah.
Do you guys feel like the Premier League? I'm not saying it's going against FIFA, but it's sort of seeing things and saying I want to change it this way. For example, I feel like VAR is much quicker in the Premier League than any other league I've seen. They've changed this season in regards to the fouls, so no soft fouls are being called. The handballs are being called a little bit different. So it's like they're being a little bit different to everyone else. Are they taking a step forward in the right direction? Are they just rebelling? Do they think they're bigger than FIFA itself? What do you guys think?
Well, the Premier League has always been like, I think, a step or 2 ahead of the other leagues. Not forget about like in terms of style of play. That's subjective. I'm talking about organisation, marketing. They've always been ahead in that sense in business management as well. So I think that comes to it because you're going to find the other leagues are going to probably jump on board to this a bit later on. They're going to think, okay, let's go back to the 3 subs. I just always feel that they're 1 or 2 steps ahead.
Trailblazers.
That's how I see it.
Yeah, Johnny. Like I think, to be honest, you asked a lot just there. Yes, I think they're rebelling against FIFA. Yes, I think they think that they're untouchable and too big for themselves. However, it depends on your point of view whether you think it's a good thing or a bad thing in terms of every individual change that they wish to make. So, in this particular context, if the 4 of us agree that we should go back to 3 subs and they do it, I guess then they're doing good things for the game. It's kind of like as long as they keep making the right decisions. That is in the interest of the good of the game and common sense decisions. There's nothing wrong with Fatty calling them trailblazers. Like you need someone always to take a step forward. You can't always rely on the governing body to do what they want to and what to do. And we've seen FIFA have some crazy ideas in the past. So they can't be the only voice or the most influential voice all the time.
But to answer a few of your questions, Johnny, I believe that I don't know if it's rebelling against FIFA. I think it's more the Premier League likes to do things their own way, as Darcy said, and they feel like they're doing the right thing, or they're always jump first to use certain things or make certain changes. And I think personally, for the better this season, especially with VAR stuff, I do feel it's a lot quicker. Even the offside things changed. Ronaldo scored a goal the other week where technically last season it would have been called offside because his arm was ahead of the player, but the other part of his body, which he can score with, wasn't ahead of the player. So it wasn't called offside, which was important because we were arguing this last time. If your arm's offside, how's that count as offside? Like what advantage do you have? So they've made some changes that definitely better for the game, and it's making me not hate VAR as much this season because it's a lot quicker and they're not stuffing up as much with the decisions, which is crucial. The 3-sub thing, they've gone back to that. So it's flowing a lot more. Look, I mean, I can't fault them at the moment. I really can't.
No, I agree with everything. Every step they've taken, I agree with. It's made the game quicker and more entertaining. It's more about, they're going, you know what? This is what we think. We're going to do it anyway, regardless of what the rest of the world are doing.
Well, they're the biggest league that's drawing in the most money. So
hopefully the MLS take a look at this and say, you know what? We're going to bring back the penalties from halfway.
Ice hockey style.
Ice hockey style. Oh, that was funny. All right, so a big talking point in the last couple of weeks, and it's getting more and more momentum, which is scary. FIFA coming out and saying they want a World Cup every 2 years. Some people have publicly come out and are for it. Some people have publicly come out and are against it. I think it was Ancelotti that said, might as well just do it every single year if you just want more money. So I have a feeling we're going to be on the same page with this one as well. But a World Cup every 2 years, yes or no, and why? Who's brave enough to go first?
I mean, it's not a question of bravery because I think we all, like you said, agree. No, I think it's a silly idea. I think you're losing something that's special about the tournament. It's, the same question as would everyone like to see the Olympics every 2 years? It makes no sense because it loses some of its appeal. And the way I see it as a consumer and as a fan, I don't lose anything by having it be played every 4 years. Every year we have some kind of tournament, international tournament. If all things go well, during the off season every year you got Euro, then Copa America, then World Cup. The next year maybe have a year off, or you have Confederations Cup or whatever. But there is something there for the fan every year that we're not asking for this. No fan was really saying we need to have this format, and I don't think the players need it. Like we said, regarding their welfare, I think it doesn't make much sense. It waters down the prestige of the competition, and anyway, I think it's a foolish idea.
Yeah.
It's short-term thinking.
I'm curious to see how it would work, aside from our preference in terms of not wanting it every 2 years and losing the luster of the tournament and all that sort of stuff, which are all valid points. But in terms of qualifiers, there's already congested schedules releasing players for qualifiers. How many qualifiers actually have to be played? So that means you're technically going to be playing international football constantly.
Yeah,
constantly, because you'll be qualifying for World Cup. The qualification takes generally a year. A qualifier spread out over a year. Then you're playing the World Cup again. By the time the World Cup finishes, you're going to be playing qualifiers for the next one. It's crazy.
Exactly. I mean, it's an unrealistic idea, but knowing FIFA, they probably will push it through anyway.
Well, they did. I mean, everyone thought that World Cup in Qatar was never going to happen because it was ridiculous, and you're never going to change it to play in summer and in winter, and it's going to clash with schedules and whatnot. How can they give it there? And it was there was all the underlying issues of corruption and all that sort of stuff. And it still went ahead. And here we are, Qatar 2022.
Darcy, do you know if with this every 2 years World Cup, they're talking about, there was talk before of making it a 48-team World Cup. Is that still the case?
Yeah.
Or
Yeah, that's happening. The last World Cup that's going to be 32-team format is the next one, 2022. Then after that, it's in 2026, which is in US, Canada, and Mexico. It's going to be 48 teams. I think that's been ratified. That's passed. So it's bad enough as it is. You're adding more teams to a tournament, which I find 32 was perfect. 8 groups of 4, top 2 go through. None of this third place bullshit. It's easy on the map.
It's fired up.
No, and I completely there's not much more to add to what Akram Fadi is saying about this World Cup every 2 years. Come on, guys. It's only driven by financial greed, and they said something about it gives players more of a chance to play in a major tournament like that.
Yeah, no, and I think Johnny, the point that you and Darcy have made regarding the 48-team format, I think links really well with what Fadi's referring to in terms of qualifiers. The calendar's already congested. Imagine having more international teams needing to qualify and more games in order to do that.
Yeah, you've got the league. You're going to have cup competition. You're going to have European football for some teams. You're going to have players that are going to be playing, for smaller countries. They're going to be playing
100%.
UEFA Nations League that have to go through an additional step of qualification to qualify.
And on top of what we already have, this year we also have another European competition. Is that correct? The UEFA Conference League?
That's right. That's a third-tier club competition.
So it's another competition added without even worrying about the World Cup in every 2 years.
The Conference League's being played parallel to the other two?
Yeah.
And what's the point of that? Are you a
It's
Conference League champion?
it's a third-tier European Cup.
Well, Tottenham are in it. They came like 6th or 7th in the Premier League, whatever it was. So
I was going to say it's for teams like Tottenham.
yeah.
So what's the, so if you win, you become Conference League champions, is that right?
Yeah, something takes you to qualification to the Europa League.
You go straight to the Europa League.
For next year, right? You qualify for it?
Instead of winning the Europa League.
Yeah.
So this is just
qualify directly for the Champions League.
Everything you're saying, the 48 teams, the World Cup every 2 years, the Conference League, it just sounds like money grabbing to me.
Yeah.
If it ain't broke, don't fix it. But I guess these guys just want to touch whatever they want to do to ruin it. If they do, then the prestige of the World Cup is going to take a big hit. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's a big hit.
You can improve things. You can review, reflect, improve things, but it feels like they're not taking the fans into consideration at all.
I don't know what there is to improve, to be honest, when it comes to the World Cup. Like, I feel like the World Cup format as it is fine. There's no issue. The qualification it's very basic. It's straightforward. There's no bullshit. There's no ifs, buts, or maybes. You've got your groups. You've got the two that qualify from each group, and people know what it is. The rest is drawn by luck as to who is in what group. After the seedings, there's still two seedings, and then after that, it's whoever's in there.
Yeah,
it's great.
I mean, look, all right. So regardless of FIFA's reputation of doing things that, like Adasi said, sound silly or sound like something we wouldn't do, and that they've turned around and done it anyway. What Fatty said. No one thought they would do a tournament in Qatar. They've done it. Adasi said no one thought, why do we need a 48-team format? They've done it. But putting all that aside, maybe this is just a feeling out idea to see public opinion, to get people's views on it, especially people like the football coaches. Like we've heard Carlo Ancelotti, and a lot of football minds have come out about this. Maybe this is just conversation right now. We shouldn't necessarily overreact. Let's hope that this is something that is only up in the air, that they see this video, realize it's a bad idea, and then away we go.
I mean, I mentioned it last topic, obviously, with the AFCON and the African Cup of Nations being every 2 years. It doesn't have the same viewership that the Euros would have, or even the Copa America would have. The Copa America now as well, doing it too frequently when they had that centenary year and whatever. It just felt like a joke. Like it just felt, we missed out this one. We'll win the next one.
I've got a suggestion here. See if you guys like it or you throw it away. Obviously, FIFA wants more money. They want more eyes. They want more regular international tournaments. So instead of having a World Cup every 2 years, in that middle year, why not have a Continental Cup? You get your CONMEBOL and your UEFA, your CONCACAF to get your best 11, put a team together, and you play a tournament representing your continent, not your country. It's a little bit different. It's a different idea. I don't think it's been done before. Or it's
just sounds like All-Stars, Johnny. What the fuck?
It is a bit like an All-Stars sort of tournament, but you're representing your continent. So Africa's best squad come together.
Yeah.
And then
my question is, when would you play that? Every 4 years?
It will be every 4 years. So you have the World Cup every 4 years, and this same way that you want to walk. Instead, I'm just trying to get them to stop. I'm trying to stop them from doing a World Cup every 2 years. So instead of
it makes sense because I get it, because that way at least we as fans every year, every off season would have something to look forward to. A Euro, a Copa, then a Continental Cup, kind of so to speak.
So you're saying it doesn't have any qualification or anything. So there's going to be a coach that's in charge of, for example, Team South America, and he selects the 11 players he wants, and that's it. There's no qualification. There's no nothing. It's just every continent. So who's going to play for Australia? Just Australia.
No, they're representing Asia. They're part of Asia. They're representing Oceania. They're part of Oceania.
We're our own continent. You said every continent.
Poor Oceania. You got
Australia's not its own continent.
Who else is connected to Australia?
It's part of Oceania with New Zealand.
Oh yeah, but what Fatty said is, but you said actual continent. You didn't say region.
You didn't say part of what confederation.
Yeah,
football-wise.
That's what Confederation Cup is supposed to be.
Yeah, but that too. Confederations Cup, they stopped that.
I got you on a technicality, Johnny.
For Confederations Cup, you still got countries representing.
Fatty's just winning every day now.
Yeah.
So look, it's an idea to sort of change things up and something different. I don't know.
It would be. It's a novel idea. I do think that you have some kind of hidden agenda there, where you think South America is going to win it. So you want to get the bragging rights over Europe, which is fine. Like that's still good on you.
Not really. I'm just trying to stop them from creating a World Cup every 2 years.
I'm surprised you don't like this idea, John.
The World Cup?
Yeah. For
Messi, he's a Messi star. Go on.
Just say he would win one. I thought you would want it every year.
Don't get me started, because I sent you a meme last time about Messi versus Cristiano, and I think I was right. Anyways, that'll be a solution to this possible World Cup fiasco that Infantino and his mates are trying to cash in on.
I think they're trying to make a decision by the end of the year, so all eyes will be on that to see what they're going to come up with, to be honest.
All eyes.
All eyes and ears.
All right, another comment that was made. Was it the AC Milan coach that's come out this week and suggested, or was it AC Milan someone that came out and said about the back to halfway rule? So same as basketball, once you go over halfway, you can't go back to your previous half, otherwise you get penalised. So the suggestion was in football, why not introduce that to create a more offensive mentality? So once you get the ball in possession and you go for halfway, you can't go back to your own half, otherwise you get penalised. Fatty, you're shaking your head so much it's going to fall off. You obviously disagree.
Just thinking about it actually happening, right? Imagine you pass halfway, you can't go back. There's going to be more fouls. The ball's going to go out more. There's going to be more stoppages in play. Okay, there's going to be more congestion because all of a sudden more players are going to rush in to give support to a player if he's outnumbered in opposition half. It's going to be absolutely messy. Tactics are going to go out the window. Everything's going to have to be revamped. It's absolutely pathetic. Like these people, sometimes I think they're just so bored they just come up with shit. They're sitting at home scratching their balls thinking, how can I fuck shit up? Well, I don't understand the logic behind it. Like, do they think, is it just let's have more goals? Okay, don't go backwards anymore. Next thing you're going to be saying, it's going to be like rugby league. Oh, forward passes only. Then it's going to be like NFL. Oh, you can, not do something specifically, or you've got to receive it in the goal only before you can score.
Or a shot clock in NBA.
Oh, shot clock.
There you go. There you go.
3 minutes. No, honestly, I totally agree with you, Fatty. Like, it's a terrible idea. I don't think it would. You're right. The AC Milan coach was the one that did say, right? I was confused about who said it. It was AC Milan, Darcy?
I think it was some Italian sports journalist.
No, I believe he reported it. I believe it was Stefano Pioli who did say it.
Okay, could be, yeah.
But the thing is that, like, he said it as a way of saying that we should, it would help promote attacking football. But I would say the other way. I think it would be counterintuitive. I think football would get very defensive. You'd have such little amount of space to be able to keep the ball. And, every team would then be having to play on a low block. No one would be able to press. Everyone would just be pinned onto their side. And you'd have 22 players, not 22, like 21 players, all stuck on that one side of the field.
I'd be surprised it could be the keeper as well. But you know what it sounds like? It sounds like he just came up against a team that was too defensive, and they didn't end up winning the game, and he got pissed off. And he just made some stupid comment.
But that's the beauty of football. Like you want different styles of play. Like whether it's attack, like Barcelona's tiki taka, whether it's Atletico Madrid's Diego Simeone, hard defensive unit, like Real Madrid's attacking open play, counter attacking play. You want that different style of play.
100% of that.
Attack. Like
football is one of the only sports. In fact, I think it's the only sport in which you can actually get a different product depending on what country and what league you're viewing. Rugby league, more or less, you have to play the same way. The NBA, basketball, there can be some variations of style, but not a lot. Whether you focus on three-point shot or trying to get into the ring, it really automatically, basically leads to the same kind of style. Football is the only sport that has that flexibility and creativity in it.
So far, we've agreed on everything that you've said, Johnny.
Yeah, what are you doing,
Throw
Johnny?
something separate. Throw something left field.
We're a together bunch today. And he was Pioli, the one that said it. I just looked it up.
Oh.
Did they draw against some shit team or lose or something?
I don't think so. They've been doing really well in league in Serie A. So maybe it was against that shit team called Liverpool when they played in Champions League.
Do you know what it reminds me of? In the 90s, where they changed the rule to pass back to the goalkeeper. That was a positive thing, where the goalkeeper couldn't pick it up after being.
Yeah, absolutely. We do have to remember not to be so reactive and negative to the concept of new ideas, because I'm sure that if we were on a podcast at the time that they brought out that rule, Fatty would have hated it too. So you just never know whether a rule turns out to be for the good or the better. In this particular example,
you're putting it on me. You agreed with everything
because it's fun to do. But in this particular example, or the examples that you've said so far, Johnny, they've all been pretty bad ideas. So
I think they'll trial. I can see them though trialing this in say the youth tournaments to see how it goes. This is a trial.
I remember Sepp Blatter was thinking about the idea of eliminating the offside rule completely. Remember that, like hockey.
Van Basten just said that.
Is he in jail? Sepp Blatter.
Yeah, they gave him an extra 8 months.
Sepp Blatter was the one that wanted to make female players wear skirts instead of shorts, wasn't he?
I agree with that rule. Nothing wrong with that. That's a bold move. He's a trailblazer.
All right. How about this one? Sin bin in football. So 10 minutes send off.
Yes,
5 minutes, 5 or 10 minutes send off. So things that maybe are not worth a red card. Dissent, for example.
Nah, totally disagree. I think that's worse than even the halfway rule.
Ooh, that's a big call.
I think it should be for diving.
I mean, I get what you're saying, because diving is a big problem in the sport of that. So I get that. But the thing is, the way I look at it, right, is that football is not a game where you can get multiple goals out of every game, as if it's rugby league, where you are guaranteed at least a couple tries on either side of the field. In football, many times it's a 1-1 or 1-0 kind of result. Imagine your player, being taken off for 10 minutes. That massively changes the game, and because it's not a sport where you say, all right, it changes the game for that 10 minutes, but sure, there's a chance that we could come back later, like in rugby league. It really could ruin the game. 65th minute, someone does a dive out for 10 minutes. And then that next 10 or 15 minutes left, everyone just goes in a low block and just defends. And there you go.
But wouldn't you feel like for the person that's trying to dive, they get 10 minutes
honestly,
out, make them think?
Look, I think you're trying to solve the diving issue, but using the wrong medium. I don't think this is the solution to the diving issue. That's a completely separate topic. I don't think sin binning is going to solve that. And I don't agree with it. If it's worthy of a sin bin, that means it's already an offence. We've already got 2 cards. You've got a yellow card and a red card. If it's not that bad, you're already giving a warning by issuing the yellow card. There's no need for the sin bin. If it's that terrible, like a 2-footed challenge, why are you going to give them 10 minutes and bring them back on? Or how are you going to stipulate? There's going to be another tier of offences. There's going to be something that's a yellow card offence, then a sin bin, then a red card.
So, for example, the example was dissent. So I know, especially not so much in Europe, but in South America, it happens so much. Referee makes a penalty decision or some sort of, and the players just crowd and fight and.
Okay, but there are simple solutions for things like that, Johnny. Like should be the way rugby league is right now, where only the captain speaks to the referee, and if someone wants to come and pursue the discussion and show dissent, then it's an automatic yellow card and then a red card. And we saw it the other week, Johnny. We made a comment about Nico Gonzalez for Fiorentina. Have that exact thing happen where someone committed a foul on him. He didn't like the fact that the referee didn't punish the player more severely with a yellow card. He got a yellow card. 2 minutes later, a minute later, he got the red straight away.
No, it was 10 seconds later.
He was showing way too much dissent, as you said. So there are solutions, there are strategies in place that we could. I just think a sin bin in this game is too much of an advantage because you can score. Like I said, there are many games that only one goal is in it between the two clubs. So you're literally deciding the game then on that sin bin. Rugby league is different because every team can usually get a couple tries in.
Okay.
I disagree with the sin bin completely. I just think it's pointless. You're adding an additional tier, like we're talking about bureaucracy and unnecessary levels of government. This is an unnecessary governance sort of.
I like that, Fatty. Man, he's very, very good with his words, this guy. I love it.
All right. With this one, there's no right or wrong. It's just personal opinion. But
weren't they all?
I'm fired today, this guy. But I'm saying there's no agreeing or disagreeing. It's more like, what would you like for the coach to be on the sidelines or the coach to be on the grandstands? So from the grandstands, from a coach's point of view, you can see everything better. You can see the movement. From the sideline, you get more of touch with the players, communication. What would you guys prefer to have your coach do?
Darcy, why don't you go first, man?
I don't know. I guess some old school. I kind of like the coaches on the sideline, barking out instructions, showing animation, so showing emotion down there. It's just being there in the dugout. It's it makes it more exciting. I know. I just find it that. I just find if they're up there at the top, it's just they probably lose that communication with the players. And plus a lot of these players and coaches might not speak the same language completely 100% fluently. So. Sometimes they need to be on the sideline to get those instructions out to certain players. So that might be a reason why it's better for them to stay down there. I don't know, but like I said, I'm old school. So, yeah.
Paddy, what about you, man?
I enjoy the drama. I enjoy the sideline stoushes, between managers, between manager and fourth official. Managers are getting heckled by fans, for example. We've seen I've seen personally a lot of incidents in the Premier League where there's been a lot of drama and excitement around the managers, especially during the Mourinho days, Van Gaal at Manchester United, Wenger at Arsenal, Alex Ferguson, all these sort of things. A lot of interaction with managers, players, player tries to snatch a ball off a manager, things happen, it gets heated, managers getting sent off, There's a lot of drama and excitement that comes by it, rather than someone sitting up in a box, giving instructions down to his technical staff by a phone or two-way radio, whatever it may be. I personally enjoy it. I think it's good. It's good for the game. It's nice to see. It's also good to see the managers worrying. They've got a goal, like seeing their reaction, for example, where this team's just conceded in the 90th minute, and you see the manager's reaction on the sideline with the crowd behind them going crazy because they're celebrating the goal. I like to see those things. I think it's cool. But Johnny, it seems like you pull in the last two things are just rugby league specific. Managers are sitting in the box upstairs, sin bin. You've been watching too much rugby league, mate. The Eels lost. What are you still watching?
I mean, some football coaches we have seen sit in the stands a little at times. I totally agree with you, Fatty. I just think if that was the case, and if one of the coaches were in the stands, you wouldn't get, Mauricio Sarri's face when Kepa refused to come off in that game. And that look of that was gold. So you're right, it adds to the theatricality of the game. And isn't that what we all follow sport for, is for those moments of drama? I do understand where the idea could come from, that maybe you want to see a little higher up and see the field, so you could perhaps kind of figure out your tactics a bit. Football is such a fast-moving game; it's always constantly moving and flowing, and it would be really difficult to assess your tactics, to assess the flow of the game on that ground view. And sometimes a little bit higher might be beneficial. However, I do think, personally, you do lose that drama and that sense of human connection to the coach.
I think as well we'll miss Mourinho's running down the sideline when he scores a 90th minute winner.
There you go.
Look, my understanding is that what usually happens is that the coaching staff do have someone up high anyway, analysing the game on the iPad. And so by halftime, they'll go down to the change room, tell the coach what they see, or they'll communicate with the assistant coach. So that's happening, just not the main coach, but someone in the coaching staff reading the game from up above. An interesting one.
You didn't tell us your opinion on it.
No, sidelines. So I agree on everything you guys, all three of you, have said.
Wow, what an episode!
Unity today.
Hey, you don't have to disagree on everything. We can.
I'm going to the next one. I think what it is.
The next one is salary cap in football. Yes or no?
There's given him the answer already. There you go.
So, salary cap in the sense of trying to control the financial side of things. We want to avoid in the future having one or two teams lead every single league for the next 20 years. So what are some of the measurements that we can take to regulate the financial side of things? Because financial fair play is obviously non-existent.
Not working. Mm-hmm.
Is salary cap the solution? Do you understand? You want to go first or last, Zach?
Honestly, no, I'll go first. I am in favour of it. I think it is something that football desperately needs. I think football's become a game of haves and have-nots, and unfortunately, that's created this disparity that, we have a league like Bundesliga where we already know who the winner of the league is going to be every year. And it was the same with Juventus and Serie A until Inter won the Scudetto last season. And with La Liga, we only have two clubs who realistically are in it every year. This last decade has been a bit of an outlier that Atletico's been able to have some success, but genuinely it is become a sport where we know who's going to win it every year. And that's a real tough one. If you think about the enjoyment and excitement that happened in the Premier League when Leicester City won the league, imagine something like that happened every year. Now, a lot of criticism for salary caps in sports is usually because regardless of a cap, there are other ways that make clubs unequal. For example, if you could be paid the same to play for Real Madrid or to play for Sevilla, what are you more likely to pick? So it's impossible to make every club equal. However, this would go a long way to stopping that hoarding of talent that we've seen. Real Madrid, who buys every young player and then puts them out on loan. They've had like an entire squad out on loan. PSG, who just buys anyone and everyone, including someone like a Messi, just for the sake of it. We've seen Premier League do the same thing, and we've seen Bayern Munich, who has, like I said before, really stranglehold on that Bundesliga.
I would like to see it. I'd like to see a cap in place. I'm just curious to know how it would go, and then you'd want to see from a sporting perspective whether there was more competitiveness, whether more teams challenged for the league titles, and also just to see how those clubs are doing financially as well. Because they're all spending the same amount on wages. So I would like to see it. And, you're always going to have the clubs like Real Madrid, Barcelona, or, Man United, Man City are being up there because players want to play for them.
Mm-hmm.
But, so I would like to see it. And just from a sporting perspective, after a certain period, like maybe 5-10 year time, see how many different winners did we have? Did it make a difference? And then maybe reassess after that. So I'm happy. I'm fine for giving it a go.
Well, I think there's a perfect example of what you're saying there, Darcy, which is the A-League. Since the A-League's inception in 2005, 2006 season, there's always been a salary cap in existence. Now, I personally don't believe that the salary cap's been successful. I think if anything, it's hindered the league and hasn't been a positive thing. And if you look back, the predominant winners of the A-League have been the same clubs that have either found a loophole around a salary cap or found a way around it, and you haven't achieved what the salary cap set out to achieve, which is to create a level playing field and to give every team an almost equal opportunity at winning the league. That hasn't happened. There are teams that are yet to win the A-League, regardless of. I'm talking teams that haven't even made the grand final. So let's put the Wanderers aside, for example.
100%.
Who've had 3 attempts and failed, for example. That's fine. You can say that's their fault. But there are teams who haven't even made the grand final. Melbourne City last season finally won one. But it's either Sydney FC, Melbourne Victory, Brisbane.
Yeah, 100%. 100%, buddy.
You know, the one-off Mariners did it. But other than that, it's been fairly expected. And the team that finishes first or second, even though there's a playoff series of 6, the top 6, the first or second team has always won the grand final. No one outside the top 2 has won the grand final in the A-League since its inception.
Okay, so the thing is, Fadi, what you're saying is completely true. However, it's contextually a very specific situation, and that's because the A-League is, number one, a growing sport in Australia. It's not the number one sport here. And number two, our private market for our players, and this goes for almost any sport in Australia, is not big enough. We have the same issue in rugby league where teams like the Melbourne Storm are consistently always in the hunt. Now, in rugby league, it's a little bit more successful than the A-League because the rugby league has been around longer. So the league and the league does get a larger share of the market in terms of money revenue than the A-League does, at least for right now. So I do think it hurts developing leagues and developing games, whether it's football or another sport, when they're just starting to develop and recruit players and recruit youngsters into the game. I do think it can hurt the growth. The other problem, and I'm not sure how the A-League handles salary caps. I'm much more familiar with the way the rugby league does. And there's 2 issues. Third-party deals, which to me, to be honest, are a ridiculous function of a salary cap. I don't know if A-League has third-party deals, but it is a ridiculous function of the salary cap. It completely is counterintuitive to the point of it. The reason they do it is because otherwise, if, let's say, rugby league, if they didn't have third-party deals, they would lose all their talent to union or to overseas league. So they needed to figure out a way to pay players on the side. The second issue is, and once again I'm speaking only from rugby league, is the players' salaries are not transparent. We don't know exactly how much people are made the same way we would in America. Therefore, it makes it harder to be able to govern the salary cap in Australia because everything is hush-hush. In America, when everything's more transparent in the sport, it's a lot easier to protect and to govern that salary cap. And I think American sports are a great example of what it can do. NBA has almost a new team that wins every year. The NFL is very similar as well. And there are ways to help introduce new revenue for players. The NBA has a soft cap and a hard cap, so you can go over the salary cap for a certain extent. So there's all these different circumstances for players. But at the same time, I do think it does increase competitiveness.
Look, to me, it sounds like communism. In theory, it's good, but it doesn't work.
It's a very socialist ideology.
But that's the thing.
Everyone's going to be the same. Everyone's equal. Everyone gets the same money.
It does work, though.
It does work if applied properly. So it can work if applied properly, but can you imagine a Florentino Perez not getting what he wants because of a salary cap?
Okay, yeah. I mean, and that's a fair argument, but the concept is still valid. And you only need to see the American sports and how they deal with it to show the basketball has become the number one sport in America in terms of revenue. And that's with the salary cap. And that is in the same country as the NFL, which had a stranglehold of the market for decades. And they've been able to do that based on entertainment, excitement, and competitiveness.
Some of the players here argued in rugby league, like you said, the argument was, why are you stopping me from earning more than what I can earn? Like, you can't stop a plumber from earning X amount of dollars, so you're putting a cap on how much I can earn.
I think one thing about salary cap, which will probably stop, is clubs from building dynasties. Being able to have a long-term vision. We want to go out and win, this amount of Premier League titles, this amount of Champions League titles, whatever it is, in this amount of time. But then they're kind of reduced or restricted in that because of the salary cap. That's one argument against it as well. I don't know. Is it something worth trialing? Maybe see how it goes. One of those things.
I mean, you had the introduction of financial FIFA fair play, financial fair play, whatever you want to call it, which was applied, if you want to call it that, very loosely, and was an absolute failure because there were so many loopholes and so many ways that clubs got around it.
100%.
This club got sanctioned. You can't sign any players for this window. 2 months later, they signed someone. It went overturned and I don't know what bullshit. It lost its credibility. So what's the point?
100%.
How are you going to govern it? How are you going to govern something like the Premier League, which relies on the ability to attract that kind of talent, to generate the viewership, to generate the money that they do, right? For them to then say, you know what, you can only spend 100 million every transfer window. You're barely going to sign 2 players in today's market.
No, well, wait a second. But the idea is for a salary cap to work, it would need to be applied across all of UEFA, or even internationally. So if everyone is playing by the same restrictions, then it depends on how you manage your salary cap and how you look at it every year, and you need to be able to balance it so you have those opportunities to sign those players and pay them what they want. You can't be completely full salary cap wise and then try to sign a Lionel Messi. You need to be able to plan ahead. That leads to the other question, that if you do have a salary cap, I do think then it leads to the extinction of the transfer fee and the transfer market. And then it will be just like an American sport where everyone is on a contract. When their contract runs out, and we all know when their contract runs out, 2024. So I know that I've got to, free up salary cap space in time. I think that I do think there is a lot of issues with the idea, to be honest, because with the salary cap, then you also need a way to be able to move players around, which now you're introducing a trading system like American sports. And so you're basically going off an American model, no transfer fee, and being able to get rid of players like trade players so you can create room for your cap in order to sign that next big star.
Could it be a sticking point as well? Could it be a sticking point in European football where the Premier League, obviously in UK, they use the British pound, and then in the European leagues, they use the euro. Could it be exchange rate issues? Could that be an issue why that might...
Not necessarily, because you just need to be able to pick a currency to go by. So regardless of what the exchange is in one country, if you have a currency that we all universally must abide by in terms of the salary cap, that should be fine. But you're right, like there are so many issues when it comes to cross-national markets and different ideas behind all that. How's a Serie A club supposed to be able to fulfill a $450 million salary cap a year if you're AC Milan or Juventus? You can't pay $450 million a year to fill your squad. That's a budget that Man City wants. But at the same time, if you cater to an AC Milan or a Napoli, then Man City is only going to be able to function on a $100 million salary cap. That's not realistic. None of these big clubs are ever going to want to abide by that.
Something you mentioned in a previous episode, Ak, is the possibility of moving into a space where there are no more transfer fees.
Yes. And like I just said, yeah.
Yeah. So how do you envision that? How do you see that?
Look, I mean, I think the transfer system is starting to become obsolete. Like I said, if you were to create a salary cap system, you would have to abolish transfer fees, I think. It wouldn't make sense unless you had a salary cap and then a transfer cap. So you are further complicating the issue in the system. putting the salary cap aside and just focusing on transfer fees and what's happening right now, I think they're starting to become obsolete because it doesn't benefit the player. The player is able to get more share of the money when they sign on a free transfer because, hey, they saved that club 20 million in a transfer fee by sticking out a year longer in their former club and signing them on free agent. They're able to, make 10 million instead of 5.
Fair enough. Do you guys agree with that?
I agree with that, but I don't agree with the salary cap issue. I think it's failed miserably in the instances that I've seen it, and I don't think it's going to work for football unless, as Akram said, a lot of things will need to change. It's not just going to be let's put in a salary cap and everything be normal. There's so many variables that need to be considered.
Too much to think about, especially European football. It's more complex as opposed to America when it's just the one country, one currency, in Australia, the one country, one currency as well.
Well, and also in American sports, a lot of those salary caps were implemented many decades ago. This is a fully formed market and fully formed sport in regards to football and European and international football. I started this conversation for it because there is some benefits. We do need to figure out how to create more equality and more parity in the competitions. I think it's killing the game, the lack of equality, the lack of competitiveness. However, adding a salary cap in is like throwing a grenade into the system. It would, like I said, add many different layers. You need to think about a transfer cap. You need to think, do you abolish transfers? Do you need to create a trading system so you can manage the cap? It would be a ridiculous situation. And like I said, if Man City has a 450 salary cap, and how's AC Milan or a club like that supposed to compete? Unless, of course, UEFA, Serie A, La Liga, they all provide more revenue towards the clubs, so they can all compete on those wage structures.
I feel like you're dealing with club owners who will find a way to play around the salary cap.
I mean, look, there is definitely opportunities and ways. I would not allow third-party deals. I think that's something that's uniquely here in our sports in Australia. I don't think that would be an issue. I think the other thing was to make sure that every player's contract was transparent. It was posted on UEFA's website. Everyone can see it. It's freedom of information kind of thing. And that way you'd be able to see, okay, well, then a player would have to be culpable if they were getting paid $5 million and then on the side they got paid extra. The player would have to know about it. The arguments we've seen here in Australian sports is that players for the Melbourne Storm, when they cheated the salary cap, or even the Parramatta Eels themselves, when they cheated the salary cap, where that players believe that they were unaware of what was happening exactly. And that's because the books are kept very secret. And that's because the auditors that audit these salary caps are provided wrong information. Where in a transparent environment, everyone would know what you're making, so you couldn't be confused on how much you're making. It's right there on the screen.
But my argument is, if I want a Messi, a Cristiano, or a Neymar in my team, what's stopping me from getting an offshore account, transferring
nothing? But then
to a cousin overseas that's not connected straight to Neymar.
Nothing. But then the player would have to be culpable. And if that's true,
how would you find out if it's some company transferring money to a relative or a friend?
Mate, things do have a way of coming out. Like that friend or that person, you could blow the whistle. Like things do happen. The issue is, would a player want to take the risk for the extra money if the punishment was quite severe? For example, a lifetime ban, hypothetically.
Look, I heard rumors of a play in the ALeague of that happening, but I'm not going to
but the thing is that
trouble and mention any names or stories.
Yeah, fair enough. But that's the thing. Like in Australian sports, it's a lot easier to hide because we don't know what players are earning. So a player could be signed for the Parramatta Eels for $500,000, but they also provide a car and a beautiful home and all these extra amenities that should not come under the salary cap. But he doesn't know because it's not transparent for everyone. And we don't know because it's not on there. So you can make the argument that people are able to go unpunished.
Okay, so we found the topic by the end of the show to sort of disagree on at least.
Sort of, because I got to say, at first I was like, yeah, we definitely got to do it. But after talking about it and after hearing what Fatty had to say, I am leaning a lot more back to not doing it. I think there is too many issues right now.
Yeah.
So you become a capitalist now.
On that note, guys, that's the end of the show.
That was a good show. It was a good show. It blew by.
Yeah, interesting talking points.
A lot of agreement, but a lot of healthy discussions, which is good. It's all football based. I know, Ak and Fatty don't like agreeing with each other, but it's been healthy. It's been
honestly, for full disclosure, I try not to if I can help it.
I feel sick.
All right, you guys go to sleep tonight and review yourself and reflect on why you agree with each other. But on the note, next week's a big week, the big 5-0 for the show.
Yeah, really exciting.
So it should be a good one. All right, Fatty, I want hot tips back next week.
Done.
I want to invest.
Ready to rock and roll.
Done. Any last words, guys?
No, I mean, guys, if we could just get everyone to like the video when they were able to watch it, please enjoy, subscribe, comment. Let us know any kind of comments that we would like to see, like any topics you would like us to do, because, to be honest, we're running out of ideas, guys. Help us out.
You may be. But Dusty's got plenty of ideas. He's my stat man. He's my stat man. All right, guys. See you next week. Bye-bye.
Ciao.